Hello and welcome to another video for the yearbook. Today we are gonna be talking about Vengeance, the Amarr assault frigate. This ship is one of the frigates that probably looked good on a drawing board, but they didn't really work in practical game. And until very recently, this was one of the least used assault frigates, but it got buffed at the end of 2024, and now it's not all that bad. So when we look at the meta game in 2025, you can see that the usage of Vengeance is very low. Really only Harpy, which is a fleet assault frigate, and Nergal, which is kind of in a separate category, are lower on Vengeance. But the win rate, this is the win rate after the buff, so in the last 6 months or so, is quite competitive. So this ship is not bad anymore. It scores pretty decently. The only problem, like fundamental problem with this ship is that it's not flexible. It has quite literally 1 feet, and that's it. So opponents, if I understand the meta well, they can simply avoid fighting you if they don't have something that can kill your feet, or they can fight you if they have something that can kill your feet. And this is a bit of a problem. Vengeance is the missile frigate with 5-3-4 slot layout. It will always use rockets. Missile fields just do not exist because for some really strange reason the damage bonus applies only to rockets. So you can field light missiles, but the damage bonus will not apply to light missiles. And this is why the only way to fly this ship is to scrum kite with missiles. Now, the unique thing for this ship is the bonus to cap recharge rate. And this is probably the only frigate that I can think of, at least on top of my head, that can support very strong active tank without cap booster. So you can fit a propulsion module, scrum, and web, and then fit double reps, for example, supported just by ship bonuses and Nosferatu, and it works fine. It doesn't work on any other frigate as far as I know. So you can fit a very strong active tank, and this ship also has armor resistance as bonus as well. But everything else is a bit lacking, so your damage even after the buff is really not great. And even if you use rage missiles, and you can't always use rage missiles, for example, against frigates with afterburners, you have to use faction missiles because you only have one web for application. And your control is also not too bad, but nothing to write home about, only 3 medium slots, so you only have afterburners, scrum and web at best, and at worst you will have macro object, scrum and web. Now the performance, I still only have like a preliminary idea because not many people use this ship, and I haven't tested it as extensively as I would like. So my impression is that the situation is pretty similar to many other assault frigates. Against Navy destroyers, it really comes down to Tech 2 resists and the type of damage of a Navy destroyer. Against Navy frigates, it comes down to control. So if Vengeance does not have a control, it's a draw. And if Vengeance has the control, it's a win for Vengeance. unless Navy frigate has some really weird counterfeit with missile disruptor, for example. And against assault frigates, it's a pretty decent actually ship, because you have a permanent tank, which is very important for assault frigate and assault frigate fights, and you also have selectable damage, which is also super important in fights between ships that have Tech 2 resists. I can't really say that it's like a 60% win rate, because you can see that the sample size is just really small, but I can't say that it's a good ship for these assault frigate on assault frigate mirrors. Let's look at the feats next. The only real decision that you have when fitting a Vengeance is the decision between a single armor rep and 2 armor reps. I would say the more common fit is the one that you see. This is the fit with a single rep, because it is more flexible against the majority of our engagement profile. So this is the fit where you can use micro warp drive, and it will still be sufficient cap region to sustain your single rep. The fit is for rocket launchers when you have space for Nosferatu, so you can just fit it. There is no real penalty. The medium slots are obviously Micro Warp Drive, Scram, and Web. And in the low slots, again, a very typical combination for armor, Scram, range, assault frigates. You have ADC, a single damage module. When you need to plug your resist hole with a coating, you don't really want to spend a rig slot to plug your resist hole, because it will reduce your speed and control. So you use the coating in the low slot, and when you have A-type armor rep in the low slot, of course you want A-type rep and not ancillary rep, because one of the biggest strengths of Vengeance is the ability to support sustained tank with a capacitor. So you should use a Dead Space rep. And for rig slots, you just boost your tank. And as you can see, this is with 2 boosters that you will always use with this ship. You can even use better ones, for example, Tier 2 hard shell and improved exile. But this is like the bare minimum, and this is with no implants. You get like 200 DPS tank permanently with a single rep. So this is very, very respectable, and essentially you need something that can shoot something like 400 DPS to break you in a reasonable amount of time. Otherwise you can just drag the fight for long enough for your DPS to make a difference. What's the weakness? Well, the weakness is control. So if you fight against ships with afterburner web scrum or double webs, they can typically escape. Another weakness is your range, because this ship does not have a bonus to range, and if you use rage rockets, they will only shoot up to 8 kilometers. And against Scrum Kiters, you are typically forced to switch into the Navy missiles. And with the Navy missiles, your DPS will not look as good as this number. Okay, the alternative is to fit Vengeance with double reps. I don't like it. I generally don't like ships that are as one-dimensional as this one. But it has its place in the meta, and you should know that this thing exists. So what's the difference? Well, essentially you drop micro warp drive for an afterburner because you cannot sustain 2 reps and a micro warp drive. And when you swap the DPS module, so BCS, for another rep, and you get this fit. Advantages and disadvantages. Well, the biggest advantage is that you can't really be broken 1v1 anymore. So this is with like no implants, very cheap boosters. You get more than 400 DPS tank. This is just not really breakable in 1v1. You get decent control and scrum range, even better than with single rep, because you have afterburner instead of micro warp drive. But the trade-offs are very severe. So the biggest trade-off is that any web kiter or kiter can keep you tackled indefinitely, which means that in reality you probably just get blobbed eventually by the friends of your opponent. And the second weakness is that a single newt will generally make your life pretty sad, because you will not be able to use one of the reps consistently. And with a single rep running, this is just an inferior version of of a feat with one rep. But if you're like 100% sure that the fight will go strictly in scrum range, this is something that you can consider. And another good thing is that rigs are the same, so you can generally just keep 2 modules in your cargo and then refit accordingly. So against opponents that will fight in scrum range, you can use double rep, and against opponents that can be like kiters, web kiters, or scrum kiters, you can use a single rep, for example, swap to an afterburner here. So it's very flexible. Okay, so this is everything I wanted to say about Vengeance. It's an interesting ship. It's not bad, it's quite off the meta, and especially if you throw some ISK on this ship with, for example, some active tank implants and some expensive boosters, I think it has the potential to be very decent in the current meta. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next videos.